Okay, so here's one way you can get into Airbnb without putting any money up front, and that is by being a co-host. Now, basically, in easy words, what that is you managing the property, but you don't own the property. You are just the manager for somebody else. And that would entail many different things. So if you're offering a full management service, the main things you're going to be offering are guest communication. So when guests message on Airbnb, if people are trying to book outside of Airbnb, that's all up to you. So you have to speak to the customer, make sure everything's fine. Anything to do with guest communication has to do with you. Check-ins and check-outs. So when somebody is checking in, however you do it, if you do self-check-ins or if you are going to be the person that checks them in, you need to coordinate that. So you need to make sure that everything is fine. The client, the customer knows when they're checking in, when they need to check out. As well, when they are checking out, it's up to you to make sure that everything's okay. So like I said, there's different systems you can put into place because some people will have self-check-in or they will have somebody who does a check-in, which would be you. In my case, we do both. So sometimes I've done self-check-ins if someone is checking in late, or if they're checking in at, let's say, 2 or 3 p.m. I might be there to just check them in, see that they're okay, and yeah. So that's check-in. Next is cleaning. So after somebody checks out, you're responsible for the cleaning in terms of you don't have to clean the property yourself, but you need to make sure that your cleaners have a schedule, the cleaners know when they need to be in, the cleaners also know when somebody else is going to check in. So the whole coordination with cleaning is up to you. Next one is pricing. So whatever you price the Airbnb at is down to you. So for example, if you want your Airbnb to cost $100 a night, then that's up to you to decide that. So that's very important because the pricing is underrated. Like a lot of people think, oh, you can just put it at any price. Maybe sometimes put the price too low and people will come in, or sometimes people are putting the price too high. So pricing is really, really important. But there is a lot of tools out there which will help you pick the right pricing for the right season, for the right days, because a lot of the time there's events going on, sometimes it's high season, sometimes it's low season, so you can use many different tools to help you with the pricing. Next is like a monthly report. So this is just to show the owner what's going on, how much they're making, how much you have basically improved their revenue, because at the end of the day, if you're a co-host or a property manager, your aim is to make that owner more money, basically. In turn, you get paid. So this is what you're mainly going to be doing. How co-hosts get paid is different. It depends on what you negotiate. I will negotiate 20% of the monthly revenue. So whatever the Airbnb makes, I will want 20% of that. However, it will also depend on how much that Airbnb can make. Let's say the Airbnb can make more than 10K a month. Maybe I'd put my percentage slightly lower, but then again, that's for you to negotiate to see what you're comfortable with. But you don't want to price yourself out. You want it to be worth it for you, because with all of these, it needs to make sense. You don't want to be getting, let's say, 5%, and at the end of the month, you're only making $300. It's pointless. So I'd say stick around between 20 to the 30% mark. Now you need to actually find hosts, or you need to find someone to help. Now, one underrated method that you can do, is go into Facebook groups. Now, everyone says when you go into Facebook groups, look for people who are looking for a co-host, blah, blah, blah. Yes, you can do that. But at the same time, what's worked for me is I've gone into Airbnb groups and all I did was drop knowledge, one, and two, when other people are asking things, I've just answered their questions continuously. So I would try to be the first to answer people's problems. Now, what that did for me was that people in the group started recognizing me as someone who knew a lot about Airbnb. And even the people who I had answered to, they might not have messaged me back, but I was getting messages from people who were reading the comments and recognizing my name. And that actually got me opportunities. I would have DMs, people asking if I was available to co-host in their city. Sometimes I wasn't in their city and sometimes I was. So that is one method. Just drop knowledge in the group and help other people, and eventually after time, some people will start to message you. Now, of course, if you're in a group and someone's saying that they need a co-host and it's in a city that you can do, of course message, but don't underestimate giving out knowledge in the groups. So that's one way to get people. Alright, the next way you can find people that actually need your help is people who are already on Airbnb and you've looked at their listing and you can see they're just lacking. Like they need some sort of help, whether that's like the title, whether the pictures are bad. You just look at that listing and you see that that person needs help. Now, the problem with this is you can't go on Airbnb and message people saying, oh, I want to be a co-host, blah, blah, blah. You want to keep your account as fresh as possible. But that person's name, what you can do is take their name and the city that they're in. You can join Airbnb groups on Facebook, type up their name, and they will most likely be in that group. So that's what I've done. So just to clarify, I would go on Airbnb, I'll find listings that don't look good, I would take that person's name and search it on Facebook. Also, sometimes as well, people who have maybe bigger Airbnbs that are under a company, in their pictures, they might have a name of their company. So you can find that company on Google, then you can find that person's phone number or that person's email. Now, let's assume you find the person's phone number or you find their email, you would then send an email to that person and explain what they're doing wrong, not in a rude way, in a most polite way possible, and also explain what you can do better for them. Once they reply, then you can then see if there's a match for both of you and if you can negotiate further or go from there kind of thing. But that is one way to find potential clients. There's a lot of people on Airbnb who just don't know what they're doing. Another thing that you can do to find clients is use other online travel agencies. So like Agoda, Trip.com. What you want to do is you want to find people on Agoda and Trip.com and you want to cross-reference. So you basically want to see if they are on Airbnb. Now, the reason this is effective is because there is a lot of people in the world who will just be on one platform. They will just be on Agoda, for example, and they don't actually know. It sounds weird, but they might not know about Airbnb or they might not be comfortable using Airbnb. So if you can find companies or individuals on other travel agencies and they're not on Airbnb, once you found their details, you can then reach out to them and say, look, you're missing them. You're leaving a lot of money on the table. You're not on Airbnb. Why is that? Is there anything I can help you with? I can do this, that, and the third, and then go into business that way. Because I found where I am that there's a lot of people only on one travel agency. They're only on Agoda, or they're only on Trip.com, or they're only on Booking.com, and not all of them. So if you can find some people not on Airbnb that are already hosting, those are some good potential clients there. Another way to find potential clients as well is to kind of just put your name out there. Now, again, a lot of people will say this, but it does help. So if you are in a city where you can go to networking events, whether that's short-term rental networking events or just property rental events, that will really help because you can go and put your name out there. And what you might find in those sort of arenas is your potential client that you're looking for, because there will be a lot of people who have Airbnbs or want to do Airbnb, but they just don't have the time. They're busy with other things. They might have other business and they just can't put in full effort into Airbnb. So these are the people you need to have really. And a lot of those people will be at some networking events. So that is another good place to potentially find clients. When you are trying to find a client, you can also transfer people who are used to doing long-term rental and transfer them into short-term rental. So if you can find websites which have people's homes listed for long-term rentals, some of those people, if they knew how much they could make on short-term rental, would be open to it. So for example, where I am, there's a lot of people on Facebook. So a lot of people sell their homes on Facebook and they're looking for long-term clients. What you could do is reach out to those people, show them what they're missing out on the short-term rental space, have some percentages that you think they could make, and then offer your services to them as well. Now, of course, some people are just naturally comfortable with long-term, but there will be some people who will give short-term a shot. For example, I had a opportunity where it was a lady who is used to doing long-term. She had many properties and was always doing long-term, but she had heard about Airbnb and wanted to try that, and she had reached out to me to be her co-host. And also going on with that, if you do get a co-hosting opportunity and you are good, the word's going to spread. A lot of these hosts will tell their friends about you, or they will have other friends who basically need the same service. So if you get in to be a co-host and you can do a good job, the word will definitely spread. So remember, your ideal client is not people that are already smashing on Airbnb. Your ideal clients are people who, one, maybe want to start Airbnb, but they don't have the time or the know-how, or two, people who are already doing Airbnb, but again, they don't really have the know-how. They don't know how to maybe optimize the listing, or they don't know how to make more revenue doing Airbnb. So those are your ideal clients that you're looking for. So this is basically the cheapest way to get into Airbnb, and it's a good way because once you're in as a co-host, you can learn the business, you can learn how it works with guests, you can learn the system of Airbnb, and then after that, if you're ready to do your own Airbnb, have more responsibility, then you can get into rent to rent.